On behalf of the Davis family, we welcome you today to the funeral services for Mercedes Sadie Ellen Davis, born June 16th, 1999 in Salt Lake City, Utah. And died September 23rd, 2021 in Box Elder County, Utah. The honorary pallbearers are Rex Davis, KJ Davis, Dallin Davis, Kelly Davis, and Aiden Ballett. The family prayer was given by Kelly Davis, Sadie's grandfather. Our organist today is Rachel Rude, and our chorister is Kate Neely. We will begin the services this morning by singing hymn number 293, Each Life That Touches Ours for Good. After which, Sadie's brother Dallin will offer the opening prayer. Following the prayer, Robin Davis will offer a life sketch, and then a good friend, Nora Barlow, will provide a musical number, Yellow, and we'll go to that point.
Father in heaven, we're thankful for this day, that we could come to celebrate the life of Mercedes Davis. At this time, I'd like to ask a blessing of strength and comfort for all those in attendance, family, friends, and loved ones, that they may feel the comfort and the love Sadie has shown them over the years. Please bless that we will feel the love of our departed friend and family today. Please bless the service to go well, and for all those in attendance to feel the love that is here today and present. And we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Of course, there's going to be technology issues because it's me. A life sketch of Mercedes Ellen Davis, June 16, 1999 through September 23, 2021. To help set the tone of this celebration of her life, I want to read to you one of my favorite quotes by Eckhart Tolle. You are here to enable the divine purpose of the universe to unfold. That is how important you are. Each person's life is an accumulation of everyday experiences that lead them through their hero's journey, to mold them into the person they are to become and to impact the world in their own particular way. I've divided up Sadie's life into chapters of her perfectly written novel. I want to paint a picture of you for her story and describe a very special and unique person who made a difference in all of our lives and will continue on as an important character in each one of our stories. I like to believe she, in her whole perfect spirit, is with us right now, loving us and tickled at all the attention on her. I humbly take on this task as her narrator and hope I represent her in a way that she approves of and gives her life's meaning the justice that it deserves. Painting Sadie's World. Chapter 1, ages 0 through 5, free spirit born, boundless ball of energy. Vicky and Rex Davis were trying to get pregnant for 5 years when Misha chose them to be the new parents to her beautiful daughter. Vicky and Rex were excited like little kids, all smiles and beaming with joy. They couldn't believe they could be so blessed to bring this little gift named Sadie home with them. Sadie was born June 16, 1999, almost a month before her due date. Her father said that was the last time she was ever early for anything again. She was eager and busy and didn't want to wait for anything. She wanted to just jump into the action. It's like she wanted to get here quick and just get the party started. She didn't want to take the time to walk. She just went straight from crawling to running. And from the day her parents took her home, they were off to the races. Their time was spent chasing her and cleaning up the messes of her Tasmanian devil whirlwind while she tried to find something to see, create, and do. She was resilient right out of the gate. When she was 6 months old, while walking in her walker and looking for mischief, found the cord to the rice cooker and pulled it on top of her. It burned her face and the left side of her body. It was awful and terrifying for her parents, but at the hospital, Sadie was happy and smiling like she couldn't be bothered to be upset. Dallin, her brother, was born in 2001. When Rex and Vicky and Sadie went to the hospital to pick him up from his birth mother, the paperwork and red tape was taking far too long for Sadie's patience. She yelled, "I want my baby." And they tried to explain to her that he was coming, but she needed to wait just a little longer. And she said, "No, I want my Dallin baby now." So finally, when Dallin was ready, but Rex and Vicky were still filling out the forms, Grandpa Davis took her to see Dallin. She was the first one to welcome them into her family. She was so excited, but when they got home, while changing Dallin's diaper, he peed on her favorite bear. She scolded him good and said, "You don't pee on my bear." She was held to that grudge, I think, to this day. As a happy surprise, Camry was born in 2004 to Rex and Vicky. Sadie was always trying to hold Camry, even though she wasn't quite big enough. Her favorite thing about being a big sister was being able to boss her siblings around. When she was a little older, she would convince Camry from the bottom bunk to massage her feet as they dangled down from the top bunk, sometimes till 2 o'clock in the morning. Sadie also has a very soft heart, especially for things in nature. When she was in preschool, her and Vicky were walking towards the front door and Vicky stepped on a worm. Sadie threw a fit and was devastated for the worm. She was always kind to creatures, even if she didn't like them. She hated spiders, but if she found one in the house, she would put a cup over it instead of killing it and then write a note on the cup saying, "There is a spider in here." And that was a cue that someone needed to take it outside where it could be safe. And then Sadie and the spider could just go on living their best lives. And to sum up Sadie in the first chapter of her life story, I want to read you something that Rex told me. One day when she was like 3, Rex woke up to find her gone. He was very concerned, and by the time he found her outside sitting on the water meter, he was very upset. He grabbed her hand, leading her back home, and said, "You're in trouble when I get home, and you're going to get a spanking." She looked up at him with her strong will and said, "I'm not afraid of you." And after he spanked her, she won the battle by saying, "That didn't even hurt." Rex went up to Vicky and said, "I don't even know what to do with that kid." And they found themselves saying that a lot, even to this day. Chapter 2, ages 6 through 12, Adventure, Curious George. Sadie was always a free spirit, motivated to do her own thing. And for example, in the 2nd grade, she decided to give the school a glow up by drawing on the outside bricks with her crayons. She would be commonly found stacking couch cushions on top of each other as high as she could and sit on top of them as if she were Yertle the turtle, wanting to be queen of all that she could see. Growing up, the kids would earn fun prizes when they finished their chores at home. And Sadie would always pick something crafty, like clay or Play-Doh, and have fun for hours sculpting things. She loved to make dragons and dinosaurs out of clay and then make her new pets' clothes out of material the scraps she'd find. Sadie had the ability to create amazing things out of the ordinary. While young, she would create amazing art out of paper scraps, tinfoil, fabric, and strings. She did some amazing pieces of art and won awards at the Stevens Henniger Art Show and the Cache County Fair. At 8 years old, the big events were getting baptized and finding her way deeper into the arts by playing the piano. She wasn't very interested in reading the sheet music and instead figured out how to play by ear and then would memorize the music so she could just play at any time. She also learned how to play the guitar and was in plays and sang Rockin' Robin in the 4th grade talent show with Camry in the background singing Tweet, Tweet, Tweedly Deet Deet. For one of her birthdays, she wanted a monkey, but instead she got another younger brother named KJ. He was born into the family when Sadie was 10 years old. She was old enough to take care of him and help her parents out, and she loved him. She especially liked to take him out with her to gather rocks and sort them. It was kind of their thing. She loved to go to her grandparents' house and play with all of her cousins. She felt accepted and loved by them, and I know we felt accepted and loved by her. She loved to do chores with her Grandpa White and make cookies with Grandma Davis. Grandma Davis has a bracelet with all the grandchildren's birthstones in it, and her and Camry would always want to point out which ones on her bracelet represented them. It made them feel so special and important. I can't look at you anymore. Chapter 3, ages 13 and 18. Her life was her art, empathy, creativity, spirituality. Sadie's bigger-than-life spirit was boundless energy, ignited her creative fire, and she would take anything she could find and make an art project out of it. And that set the tone for the rest of her life. One big art project waiting to be discovered. Her art was her outlet to express her larger-than-life spirit. In high school, her favorite class was AP Art, surprise, which included her favorite teacher, Mr. Bingham. He saw special talent in Sadie, and when he got his own art studio, she would volunteer there. Her senior year, she pretty much only went to art classes. She enjoyed helping fellow art students and encouraging them to express themselves through their art. She was a collector of random things. For instance, she had a collection of Dum Dum candy wrappers, tons of them, which to her, I'm sure, had some potential for an amazing craft. She would save soda pop lids and make bracelets. She would go to the DI and buy blankets and make her pants out of them, with a fringe running along the sides and surrounding the ankles. You might have noticed them in the museum of her viewing. Me and Camry are still in a fight. She would also get free fabric samples and put them together to make a shirt. She had a dress that she didn't find very interesting, and for Sadie, that just wouldn't do. So, of course, she made a chain dress to wear over it to spice it up a bit. Everything she saw, she could make into something more cool. So to incentivize her to get good grades in school, her parents told her they would get her a cat. Of course, she couldn't wait so long, so she got her own cat and hid it in her room for as long as she could get away with it. And when her parents found out, they made her give it back until she actually earned it. She did get him back, and she named him Seymour Butts. I didn't get it at first, so I had to write it out, Seymour Butts. Her cat was her spirit animal. He was a wandering cat, and on several occasions when he wanted your attention, Seymour Butts would look up at you and put his spit on your hand and demand that you give him a bath. So Sadie. Sadie liked to make people happy and enjoyed doing kind things for other people. She loved her friends and enjoyed spending time with them. A couple weeks ago, she returned from a trip to Oregon with some of them and had a great time. Vicki checked in with her while she was there one night, and Sadie was so happy to be making her friends a fancy dinner for all of them. And here are a few posts her friends wrote about her that kind of show her intuitive way of caring. Sadie's friends called her Scout and used the pronouns they and she, which Sadie preferred. Sadie was especially good at helping people in dark places. So one of her friends wrote, "The last interaction I remember with Scout, I was sitting in the locker room alone. We had just gotten done running. I was having a quiet panic attack because I struggled with body dysmorphia and BE disorder, and I hated gym because I thought I was going to be judged by everyone in class. I never really talked to Scout, but I will hold this day with me for forever." Scout sat next to me on one of the benches for a few minutes before the bell. Didn't say much, as if they knew all I needed was company. They asked me if I would be okay and left shortly after. They were one of the most intuitive people I had ever met. I didn't interact with Scout much, but whenever I heard someone say something about them, it was always based on showing kindness and wholesomeness to everyone around them. Thank you for helping me through that day. Another one of her friends wrote, "I am bawling my eyes out. When I was 14 and I took an art class, I was so discouraged, and you helped me with my drawings, you showed me yours, and you welcomed me to AP Art. I am working on redrawing a piece that you loved that I drew when I was younger. It hurts that you are gone. You posted on Facebook every day and I loved it. Scout, I can't believe it. I will miss seeing your art. I can't believe I won't see you again. Words can't describe how shocked I am, and heaven will treat you well, beautiful." Sadie showed that kind of care for her family, and they were important to her through, Sadie showed that she cared for her family and that they were important to her through acts of kindness. Dallin remembers a time when he was having a rough week, and she could sense it and took him out to lunch for sandwiches. And she was also his date for homecoming one year. When Sadie was 16, she did a stick and poke tattoo of a moon on Camry's thigh. And shortly after, Sadie got one on the same spot, same leg, but with a matching sun. Sadie would dance in public when her and Camry were shopping, no matter how embarrassed Camry would get. And maybe that was just the point. And she liked to take KJ up to Logan Canyon, and they would make a snowman together. She did an amazing replica of the Joker's face on him for 1 year at Halloween. Sadie was happiest when she made other people happy in her own unique way. In high school, she had a paper route, and she delivered to a gated community of older people. There was one older woman who would leave a notebook on a table on the front porch that said, "Leave me a note." So Sadie would leave her a note and draw pictures, and the woman would write notes back to her. It was the highlight of the woman's day since she didn't have many visitors. They built a friendship over time, and the woman submitted the notes and a story about it to the newspaper, calling it Morning Memos. And that was so indicative of how she was with people. Sadie was quirky and had a colorful personality. She loved Comic-Con and haunted houses and would create quite the scary characters with her makeup and costume skills. She went to Color Fest a couple of times and enjoyed other people helping her color the world. She spent a lot of her latter years trying to figure herself out and how she fit in. She felt like a different person around everyone else, probably because she had a gift of being like a chameleon. She would meld and adapt to be strong in whatever environment she was in. She could sense what a person needed and be that for them to make them feel more comfortable. There were so many different sides to Sadie. I love her Insta handle, Curious Sadie. That so describes her to me. curious about so many things and thinking outside the box. And sometimes it was just, let's try this on and see if it fits or it sticks. She was also curious to me because she was quirky and mysterious and intriguing and different and so fun. Her busy mind and body had to adapt to the way life was set up. Some people call it ADHD. It made life difficult for her with her creative distractions, which caused some depression. But after high school, she was learning how to work with ADHD and depression instead of judging it and pushing it away. Her spirituality came from feeling energy. She believed in the things she could feel in nature, all the spoken truths that came from the trees, wildflowers and animals, waters and rock. I want to read you a poem she wrote, just in case you didn't see it at the front door, where you could sign a rock in her honor. I think there never shall be an ignoramus just like me, who roams the hills throughout the day to pick up rocks that do not pay. For there's one thing I've been told, I take the rocks and leave the gold. Over deserts wild or mountains blue, I search for rocks of varied hue. 100 pounds or more I pack, with blistered feet and aching back. And after this is said and done, I cannot name a single one. I pick up rocks where'er I go. The reason why, I don't know, for rocks are found by fools like me where God intended them to be. She learned through her love of the outdoors to slow down and appreciate the beauty that was around her. Through the vibration and movement of the water, she learned how to calm her mind by feeling its rhythm and drawing peace from the earth. She was so grateful for these lessons because she thought this can't be taught in a building. To sum up chapter 3, I want to share a note Vicki found yesterday that was written by Sadie. It gave her family a good laugh and still makes them chuckle. Seriously considering filling my pockets with glitter. And whenever someone near me says something really stupid or rude, I'll just reach into my pocket and with a dead expression and release the glitter into the sky above their heads and watch it shower over them like a baptism of stupid. Chapter 4, ages 19 through 22, butterfly emerging. Since high school, she worked in various positions in the valley. She had the desire to learn the art of tattooing and apprenticed with defining ink and hibiscus tattoo shops. She also did many tattoos on her own. A lot of her friends have tattoos given by her. Sadie was trained and certified in Reiki energy healing. She was also into astrology and loved getting to know the people that were close to her by writing out their birth charts. Recently, she held 2 positions, one at a youth development professional at the Boys and Girls Club in Garland, Utah. She loved working with the kids and found purpose in making a difference in their lives. She will be greatly missed there. The other was a server at White Owl, where she touched lives as she did wherever she went. Chapter 5, September 23rd, 2021 to present day. Gone too soon, but not before her time. A colorful piece. I have had a couple stories told to me of dreams that loved ones have said of Sadie since her passing. Her aunt said she saw Sadie in a beautiful light bluish purple A-line gown. It was super flowy and beautiful with streams of fabric that were all sorts of bright colors. She was soaring above us and saying how she felt so free and open. She was excited that she had the biggest canvas in the world to paint on, the sky. And this perfectly matches up with her grandpa's dream. He dreamed that God put her in charge of painting the sunsets in the sky and placing rainbows. And I love that thought of a rainbow or a sunset reminding me of her. I will imagine her saying hi every time I see one. I want to read Sadie's last post because it seems it was fortuitously written for all of us at this time. It reads, I'm really beginning to enjoy life again, and I'm grateful to experience it with so many people that I love. To whoever you are, I love you. Thank you for the energy you bring. The end. And yet there is no end. We love you, Sadie. Thank you for being a gifted, outrageous, mischievous, playful, beautiful, wonderful daughter, granddaughter, sister, cousin, niece, friend, and character that has touched our stories forever.
I chose to play this song by Coldplay. It's called Yellow because when I think of Sadie, I think of yellow. Look at the stars, look how they shine for you, and all the things you do. They are yellow, came alive. I wrote a song for you, and all the things you do. They're all yellow. So then I took my turn. Oh, what a thing to have done. And it was all yellow. Your skin, oh yeah, your skin bones turning into something beautiful. Do you know how? You know I love you so. You know I love you so. I swam across, I jumped across for you, and all the things you do. Yeah, you're all yellow. I drew a line for you, and all the things you do. Yeah, they're all yellow. Your skin, oh yeah, your skin bones turning true. Look how they shine for you. Look how they shine for you. Look how they shine. Look how they shine for you. Look how they shine for you. Look how they shine. Look at the stars. Look how they shine for you. And everything you do. Yeah, you are all yellow. Thank you.
We'll now have the opportunity to hear memories of Sadie from a few of Sadie's friends, Danny Siebers, Jaden Harames, and Alyssa Snyder. They will be followed by a musical number by Trace and Bradshaw, and we'll go to that point in the program.
I will be honest with you guys, I really did struggle finding the words to really express for Scout's passing for me. I can't really express how hard it is, and I can't imagine how the family's feeling. Because every time I try, I have no words, but really right now it's just kind of feelings. But I feel really honored to be able to take a few minutes to talk about Sadie. To the person that I just cherished so much through my life and through my childhood. Me and Sadie started becoming friends when I was about 10 years old. We were playing at recess, and there was this one girl we were playing with, and she decided to push her to the ground, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. So I went over, picked Sadie up, and I was like, are you okay? And she was like, yeah, I was like, yeah, don't let it bother you. She's really mean. She's like, I know, right? And so we bonded over that. We became really good friends after that. We started talking, and we both found out that we love to create, that we had a very interesting viewpoint of the world, and I was so glad to have someone to share that with. We spent a lot of time making things together, creating things out of clay, painting. We used to draw on each other a lot and get in trouble for it. In the 5th grade, this girl, she decided that it was a great idea to make candy machines. And in our 5th grade class, we could collect tickets for a raffle every Friday. So this girl made a little candy dispenser. And I don't know how she figured it out, but she did it. I was always so amazed by her creativity. And honestly, I'm still amazed today. So she made these gumball machines, and it was so popular. All the kids wanted to try it. All the kids were she was giving candy out like crazy. Until our 5th grade teacher had to shut it down because she was taking all the tickets. She was like a little businesswoman. She honestly, it was pretty badass. But She was just so innovative, and I just loved watching her create everything, like every day. During class, she would be drawing in her textbooks. She'd be drawing on her assignments. Teachers would be pulling her back, telling her that she can't draw on her assignments. And then she would draw on the next one. And she just like couldn't be stopped. And I love that about her. And I think everyone noticed her. She had that presence that everyone noticed who she was and knew how creative she was. She had no problems making friends. She found everyone and accepted everyone for who they were. She was loving and caring, and she wasn't afraid to go out of her way to make sure everyone was okay. She was just someone that she would leave an imprint to everybody she would meet, and they would be thinking about her for like the next days to come. She just had such an impact on people that she would talk to, and she was someone that you couldn't easily forget. She touched a lot of people's lives with her free spirit and her spirituality, and that's not going away anytime soon. I just can't tell you how many times she just blew me away with just her personality and her crazy ideas. One day, Sadie had this crazy idea to perform a wedding ceremony at the mall. So she invited a small group of friends to go to the mall with her. She had a groom and bridesmaids and a bouquet, and she found this dress, and I'm not really sure where she found this wedding dress, but she somehow got a wedding dress. And we were right in the middle of the mall, and we started the ceremony, and everyone started noticing, so they started gathering around with our ceremony. And, you know, when we got to the end, we got to the flower toss, and we threw the flowers, and this guy caught it, and everyone was cheering and clapping until security came over and noticed what we were doing. So just like any normal teenagers, we booked it out of the mall. And honestly, like seeing her run in a wedding dress was honestly the funniest thing I've ever seen. She's like picking it up and she's like tripping over it. And I'm like, dude. We get outside and, you know, we're chilling out and we're just like, oh my God, you know, like that was so close. And this mall security comes out and he's like scolding us. He's like, you can't do that, you know, and we're like, we did. But, oh my God. But yeah, I think about that a lot, honestly, just the crazy, crazy adventures that we would have. I'm definitely outing myself right now, but like me and Sadie would sneak out in the middle of the night. I'm sorry. I know we got in trouble for it, they know, but I really appreciated those moments because there's just times when we would just want to talk to each other. And, you know, we both like wouldn't sleep, we would text each other and we're just like, let's just go take a walk. And we would go for a walk and we would just talk about what's been on our mind. And I know that I'm just gonna miss that. And like I miss going on walks with her and how comfortable I felt just like telling her what was on my mind. She was always accepting. She always made me laugh. She had this bomb sense of humor that I still think about her jokes and all the stories that she tells me. I always love it when she tells me the tea. It's my favorite thing. And I just loved hanging out with her. I just loved her as her personality and who she was as a person because she just was so much life. And sometimes I just never knew what I was getting into. But a couple years ago, I moved away and we graduated different high schools. And that was really hard. I didn't see her for a while and we kind of, lost touch for a bit. And, we got into our own lives. And then I moved back to Utah and we reconnected, and I'm so glad that we did. About a week before I moved out to Portland, she started to stick and poke on me, and she was like halfway finished, and I was like, oh, you got to finish it on me before I leave. So we scheduled a time before I go ahead and move, and I just remember talking to her, and we were just talking about how proud we were of each other when we were growing up, and just how different things were now from then, and just how proud I was of her for her taking the time to figure herself out, because it's not easy. It takes a lot of time and a lot of healing to be honest with yourself. And she really took the time to start doing that, and I'm really glad. And I remember talking to her and saying that I was going to change my name before I left, and because I didn't feel like I was a Hannah. And she sat with me and she looked at me and she's like, I don't feel like a Sadie. And I was like, well, what would you choose? And she was like, I was thinking like Echo or Scout, and she went by Scout. And I'm so glad that she did. It takes a lot to, self-evaluate yourself. And she told me that she's not going to be masking anymore. She's going to be honest with herself, and that she's really just going to allow herself to be herself. And I just had so much love for her at that point. And I just felt like I don't know, what a lifetime to be with her. And I'm so grateful to be able to share my life with her. And I just wanted to thank her for sharing her life with us. And I love her. Thank you. Couldn't figure out what to say to you guys, so I decided to speak to Scout instead. Dear Sadie, 4 years ago you entered my life like a ray of sunshine, or perhaps like a tornado of chaos and love. We met at a house show and I was pretty anxious that night. You noticed and sat at the kitchen table with me, introduced yourself, and spent the rest of the night trying to make me laugh and feel comfortable. That really set the tone for the rest of our relationship. I had no idea that night that you'd become one of my closest and dearest friends. 9 days ago, you were sitting in the passenger seat of my car, talking about your goals and dreams for the future. You wanted to have your van or bus purchased within a year, road ready, so that you could take your friends traveling around the country. You were always bursting with grand ideas, plans, and dreams that were so impossible, and yet you painted them in a way that they seem so real, so full of excitement and enthusiasm. You were always asking why, and loved when I happened to know the answer and would say, I love your brain so much, Jaden. Damn, Sadie, you're so effing funny. You had me rolling on the floor in literal tears so frequently. One of the funniest people I know. Sadie, you are someone that I shared my pain with, and you shared yours with me. You've helped me, supported me, comforted me, and cheered me on through the darkest and most difficult times of my life so far. So I know that you must be somewhere near, waiting to help me get through this too. I wanted to share some of their quotes. I cherish and value you and everything you are. Your feelings are valid and deserve to be expressed. I'm proud of you. You are so important to me. Sorry we late, that's on me. I love you and live to see you happy. Looking handsome today, my dude. I'm glad I get to call you my friend. 9 days ago, I dropped you off after a week-long trip. We were both kind of grumpy at each other. And like usual, you left several things in my car, including half of all of the shoes you brought on the trip, just one of each pair. I was so tired and grumpy, I didn't want to get out of the car, but I looked back and saw those items sitting there, so I gathered them up, ran in after you, and I'm so glad that you left those there because I was able to drop them off in the house. We stood on the porch. You put your arms around me and said goodnight, sleep well, I love you, and kissed my forehead. Thank you for being authentically you. Thank you for seeing me and for loving me. Goodbye, sleep well, I love you.
For those of you guys who don't know me, I'm Alyssa, Liz, or if you talk to Scout, you would have heard lizard or lizard breath or bad bee or some variation of that. I've had the hardest time knowing where to start this because how do you even begin to take all of Scout and who they were and your relationship with them and try to express that sufficiently? But I guess Scout didn't get the memo that trying to share all of the important moments they provided and all of the big things they had on the horizon is an impossible task. So I'll do my best. Scout was one of my best friends for countless reasons. They were the type of person that would be laughing with me so hard we cried at some truly terrible idea that we decided would make us rich and famous. Like the time we decided we were going to make a themed calendar with different pictures for every month of the tattoo they did on my butt. And then a few minutes later, we would be having a serious and heartfelt conversation about the things we both worried about, felt hurt by, or needed each other's help to heal from. They took very few things as seriously as they took learning and growing, loving their friends, and absolutely berating anyone who used the CoStar app for anything beyond looking up their astrology birth chart. They were always either suggesting the most ludicrous adventures or agreeing to them without hesitation, from impulse tattooing several questionable designs on my body to coming down for visits in Salt Lake City on a whim after I'd moved, only to find several times on those visits that their keys had been locked in their car, once with the keys still in the ignition and the car running. It seems very fitting that one of the last days we spent together, Scout and I got impulse tattoos together out in Oregon. They had suggested it in the days leading up to the trip, and though I was always down and I always loved a good old-fashioned Scout adventure, I also really loved my planned out trips with a carefully scheduled itinerary. They reminded me several times, I don't do itineraries. But I was wholeheartedly opposed to the last-minute addition. But of course, Scout's contagious excitement got the best of me, so we both found ourselves in the shop on Saturday night. And I will always be grateful for that. Scout, being ever the optimist, told myself and the artist that they didn't think the tattoo on their ankle would hurt that bad. In case you didn't know, they do hurt that bad. And because of Scout's optimism and impulsive decisions, I get to have the memories of them clinging to my hand for dear life as the wing on their ankle took shape, talking on the drive over about all of the growth they'd been experiencing lately and how they felt they still had a ways to go, but they knew they were on the right path. Cursing at my tire that refused to fill up at a random service station in Eugene, with them standing out in the rain beside me, getting soaked in solidarity. Then on the drive back, they handed me a crystal and asked how the energy felt to distract me from how grumpy I was. And then walking into the Airbnb right beside me to protect me from whatever supernatural creatures might be out in a farm in rural Oregon, because I told them about my irrational fears on the drive home. That's just the smallest glimpse of who Scout is. Impulsive, adventurous, optimistic, validating, and caring. Whether you are afraid of cryptids that are lurking in the dark, or that you might not meet all of the goals for the dreams you were pursuing, they were there to reassure you that you would never be bad or broken for having fears. Then immediately follow that reassurance up with affirmations that you are strong, capable, independent, and certain to accomplish anything you wanted to. And this was almost always wrapped up with a kiss on the forehead and the words, "You a bad bitch, baby. Don't you forget it." There are dozens of Scout stories I could share with you all if we had the time, which range from funny to a little bit irritating to wholesome and everything in between. It's been said a couple times, but they were the human equivalent of a ray of light. All of the stories in the world, however, could not convey the depth of the love I have for Scout. They held a place in my life that will never be replaced. I don't think I will ever stop missing them, wishing I could just have 10 more minutes with them, or feeling the pang when I pick up my phone to message them about something funny or quirky or outrageous without thinking. I wouldn't trade the hurt though, because the time I did get to have with them was well worth it. Felt wrong to be writing the last sentences, and it feels worse to be saying them because that feels like accepting that they really are gone. But I know that if they were here, they would tell me I am brave and strong and will make it through this with one last kiss on the forehead. Scout, wherever you are now, I hope you have your RV decked out. Bob Ross is riding shotgun, pointing out every happy little tree you passed while you ask him an unending stream of questions. And I hope you know how much I love you.
Is Trace and Bradshaw here? Okay.
Hi, I'm Trayson. I'm gonna play a song that I made a little while ago, just for the sole purpose that, I couldn't think of anything else, but B, Scout told me that they really liked it once. So
come home, take off all your work clothes and get stoned. The same thing you did yesterday, I know. Things haven't been easy being alone. Whoa. And if you cry, take a look in the mirror and give it time. Wait your turn and try to learn how to fly. Try to love the rainy days till it shines. Try to live in the now, to stop and wonder how to leave it behind, to find the better times, but not tonight. We lie and try to keep it all locked up inside, and build the walls up higher till it's time to open the door and put on a disguise. And if you cry and take a look in the mirror and give it time, wait your turn and try to learn how to fly. Try to love the rain it takes till it shines. Try to live in now, to stop and wonder how to leave it behind, to find the better times. Thank you.
We now have an opportunity for a few minutes for those who want to share some memories of Sadie. We would encourage you to be brief so that as many as would like to have the opportunity to share. But we'll give you that time now.
sat on the wrong end of the bench to come all the way up here. Hi, I'm Chanist, and I have no great love of public speaking, but I would be doing Sadie a disservice by not sharing what's been on my mind. I've known Sadie since I was 12, and they have been like a younger sister to me my whole life. I remember we would go longboarding all the time up by where she lived, and it just, we had a lot of little moments together, and she was there for me in times where my own family wasn't, and just like it's been said a million times today already, she was a ray of sunshine. So the yellow, she definitely is the color yellow. But one of the memories that stands out the most about Sadie is she introduced me to a podcast, which to those of you who know Sadie is nothing out of the ordinary. It's called Welcome to Nightvale. It's about this little desert town in a different world. It's full of strange concepts and finding beauty in these strange concepts. And since I found out about the news, there's been a quote that has stuck with me. It's just been replaying in my head. And that quote is, "Death is only the end if you assume that the story is about you." And I know that wherever Sadie is now is much better for it. And it's going to be a beautiful place. And there were no words beautiful enough or free-spirited enough to describe her in life. And there are none that can encompass the depth of my sorrow and the sorrow of her family. Thank you.
My name is McKenna. I met Sadie through my brother. He was actually the groom in that story. She was his first kiss. And I'm a very protective sister. And just the fact that she was his first kiss made it so that I wasn't very nice to her at the beginning. But that never stopped her from loving me. And she was always there for me when I needed her. And I hadn't talked to her for a while. And the first time that I had talked to her again, she actually did a tattoo for me for my daughter. And I gave her an idea and she made it that much better. And that's just how she was. And every time she came over, my daughter and my 6-year-old sister were always so happy to see her. And she was amazing and was always there. She never had any bad thing to say about anybody. And that includes me, who was, like I said, not very nice to her at first. But she's just is an amazing person. And I know that she's here today loving all of you, giving all of you the big forehead kisses that she always did. So, thank you.
I actually met Sadie around the time of said wedding. I actually didn't like her very much because at the time I had a crush on the groom, and we got together a few months ago, and we were actually laughing about how silly that was. And I remember her saying, you know, I have always loved you and I will always love you. But let's do ourselves a favor and never let a boy come between us again. God. As many of you know, Scout's dream was to live in an RV. A couple months ago, my family has a sailboat over at Bear Lake, and I took her sailing. And within 5 or 10 minutes, she had gone through every single compartment and storage and asked 80 bajillion questions. And even my dad, who is just a very quiet individual, was like, "Who is this girl? And what is going on here?" And when she got done exploring, she turned to me and she said, "You know, I like this boat, but I think I like the idea of an RV better. However, if I crash my RV, I'll get a boat." And you can come live on it with me. A few months ago, I saw this little trailer come up for sale, and I sent pictures to Scout, and I said, "What do you think?" And she said, "Go look at it. Go look at it. You have to go check that out." And I said, "If I buy this thing, there's no way I can do this by myself." And they said, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it all. I'll help you with everything. There's no way you'll be able to get me out of that camper." And now I have a little Scoutmobile that I'm not going to be able to get rid of because she decided that it was my clubhouse on wheels and that it was going to be our art studio, and that's what we were going to do, is travel the world and make art. And I know she would love this. A room full of artists, all here to say the most beautiful things about her that you could possibly think of. They would live for this. I'm gonna just take a second and talk to Scout. Scout, you are the epitome of an artist to me. You're my mentor and my greatest advocate when it came to my art. You were the biggest fan of my adventures, and I will always cherish our time together. From being able to pack kayaks on top of a car that was not meant to carry kayaks, to feeding grapes to ducks with your sister. I will never forget the many times that I had to help you with your hair, and the many, many hours that we spent taking your hair down and putting it up in all these different braids and locks. And I will never forget how much you were willing to help me in any way possible. Thank you so much for everything you did. I love you.
So my name is Michaela. I met Scout through McKenna. We used to play at night games at their house, at McKenna's house, and that's how I met Scout. We fell apart for a few years. They went and did their own thing. I went and did my own thing, and then I met Scout again at the Barnes. And they were just sitting at the table, and I walked in and I was like, oh my God, I know her. And I remember them wearing these beautiful sun and moon gauges, and I just complimented on their gauges, and we hung out. And that night, a group of friends, we had a get-together, small get-together, and I remember her just talking to me, and she sat me down, and she turned and she looked at me and she said, Michaela, you were put on this earth to love. You were put on this earth to heal through your love. And that stuck with me. And she hugged me and she said, Michaela, you have the most healing hugs. So Scout, Thank you for showing me who I really am. Thank you for bringing that out in me. Thank you for being the brightest light in my life. I will never, ever, ever forget every single kind word you said. No matter, you were so encouraging. No matter what the situation was, you always had something encouraging to say. And you always had a way of making people feel like they were at their best. And I will never forget that. I love you so much.
So I wrote this morning and did not proofread much. Please forgive me. I'll try to keep it brief. I'm Carter Ostermiller. Sadie knew two Carters. I'm one of Scout's oldest friends. Already, as I talk to you all, I am failing. I am incapable of saying what I want to. Words and language could never describe this incredible thing of being able to share a life in a world with Scout. And I ran through exactly 0 ideas of what to do next. The Autistic Kids official playbook did not account for this. Nonetheless, we got to know each other and we best friends. She understood me, shared with me, enjoyed spending time with me, liked to draw with me, talk with me, she loved me. Against all odds, they tolerated me. Throughout my rocky, confusing time growing up, I could always turn to them. We both changed so much on our paths, but we stayed the same. And even if we spent months apart, we grew closer knit. I could enter a room with them after being apart for so long, and it would be like we had never been friends. That's a theme. You may notice, of course, Scott was on so many things, like gifts, so much so that my mother, who watched me struggle growing up, called him an answer to prayers. There's only one person I know who could have ever been so much. Scott was funny, and smart, and talented, understanding, passionate, and caring not just for others but himself. It's indescribable, spirited, incredible thing. It's impossible to describe. Can't imagine how like so many things about their lost world. It's like such an incredible person that anything this sad or painful shouldn't even remotely relate to them. I don't know what makes them look good. And so I love to wonder what now. How's it possible for the planet to continue turning? Turn it does. I don't know what happens after one crosses the phone barrier, but I know that people are more than the matter with their name. I know that what's countless for everyone will never go anywhere. And as melodramatic as it makes it, I truly believe that in that sense, Scout continues. They're nowhere and they're everywhere. It does hurt. I can't imagine their loss. He went through this the rest of my life afterwards. Thankfully, that's not now. Somehow, we all have the art of continuing to live in a world that they touched. And can't believe my luck or look at anyone else that were able not only to share a life with Scout, but to stay surrounded by their info, to keep going to the great world of this school. Scout, wherever you are, I already know this, but I love you so much, and I miss you. And the only reason I'm not crying is because I'm very dehydrated. I'm so glad I met you. To meet you again. And that all so inadequate is the best grasp and description that new words can allow. Names the very fullest of my capabilities of my dearest, most dearest friend. Yeah. That's my sister. I missed a shot in the lacrosse game, and that was just done for the rest of the week.
She took me out for a sandwich. I'd never been to the sandwich shop she took me to, and so I just got a grilled cheese sandwich. I miss you, Sadie. I love you.
I'll make this really quick. I'm Michael Bingham. I had the pleasure and the frustration of being Sadie's art teacher. And I feel like it's my job on this planet to remind people that we come to this earth creative beings capable of unimaginable, things and creation. And Sadie was maybe the only student I had to ever kind of bring back to earth a little bit. She taught me so much about what it means to be a creative being, and really tattooed herself on my heart and changed the way I see a lot of things. And I think what she would want for all of us is to maybe dig deep inside and find our own Sadie inside of us that occasionally just wants to dance or make something or smile at somebody and lift them. And I'm going to try harder, Sadie, to be better at that and to lift other people. Thank you.
I am horrible at public speaking as well, so I apologize if I sound shaky. My heart's beating a million miles an hour and I'm sweating like crazy. So I have Sadie in her bucket hat up here with me, just trying to think of how she would help me speak to you guys, but I know she'd want me to. There's a lot of faces in this room that I don't know, and a lot of you don't know me, but I know that one thing that we all have in common is Sadie, Scout, Mercedes, and the love that we have for her. I just wanted to thank all of you for all of your amazing stories. My time with Sadie was short. She came into my life and my brother's life just a few months ago. So thank you so much for all these amazing stories, because I am so sad I didn't get more time with her to know this amazing light that you guys are all speaking of. Me and Connor made it a thing to start going to the Owl weekly. We would go every Thursday night. And I reconnected with a childhood friend up on the roof deck, and we were talking, and up comes this girl, this beautiful, beautiful girl with these braids, and I just see her, and she starts walking towards our table and speaks to our friend, and turns out they know each other, of course. Sadie knew everybody. And she immediately sat down. She looked at me and my brother and said, "Can I sit here? Is it okay if I sit here?" And immediately pulls out 5 bags full of rocks, big rocks, small rocks, shiny rocks, dull rocks. They were hers. And I kind of sat back and just watched her and my brother go over these rocks. And it was just amazing. This cute girl just sits there. And the first few words she said to me, had no idea who I was, but she said, "You are beautiful. Your smile is beautiful. You are such a beautiful girl." And I just looked at her, not even knowing who she was, but how kind she was. So I received a rock. I was told to take many, but I took one. And next thing I know, she pulls out these little silver things and goes to hand them to me, and they're a pair of her earrings. And she asked if I wanted them. They're not special. They're kind of chintzy earrings. They weren't expensive, but I can't wear them. So why can't you wear them? And she goes to show me her cute little gauges in her ears, and they won't fit. So these are Sadie's earrings that she gave me in a matter of minutes that night. Me and Connor met her the same night, and we had our last night together. We played songs over and over on the jukebox at the Owl, and then popped over to the Cache, and she convinced me to get up on stage and sing karaoke, and we sang TLC Ain't No Scrub. And she had her cute little bucket hat on, and it was amazing. I hear all of your guys' stories about how you would take walks with her and you guys would just talk, you paint, you sculpt, you do all of this art. Continue to do those things for her. Her time here was obviously not done. And I keep trying to tell myself, for comfort for me, that she wasn't taken from us, but she was needed somewhere else so much more. So do all of those things with her. Continue to walk. And you might feel alone, but don't. Continue to talk to her, draw for her, create things for her. Every single day, there's a piece in each of you. As with me, the few months that I knew her, and she's relying on us to continue doing what she can't do now. So continue doing those things for her. Thank you.
I'll be really quick. So that first night that we met Sadie, she was really excited to show me her Taekwondo kick. And this is after we were going down the stairs and everyone could hear us because all of her rocks were falling out of her purse. Anyway, I went outside and I could just feel like something was going to happen because the way she was looking at me, I knew. I didn't know if I was supposed to put my hands up or what. And she just smiled. And she took a step back and then she came straight on with the kick. And I think she just misjudged a little bit because instead of like going over my head, it just hit my head. And what was great though, she didn't even apologize for it. And then the last memory I want to share, we were in her car. We were just hanging out that day, and she looked me in the eye and with her blue eyes, and she just said, "You know, I think you have a little bit of sadness in your eyes." And so she held her hand out, and I just traced along her hand. And then I held it for a second. She looked at me. She had a tear in her eye, and I had one too. And I let go and she said, "Whoa, what was that?" And I just said, "That's talking without talking." Thank you.
We're grateful for these memories that have been shared and apologize for those of you who weren't able to share. I'm certain that Sadie would not have asked me to conduct her funeral. I think that's probably pretty safe to say. However, her parents did. And I approached this with humility and with love for her, for respect for Sadie, and also with a deep love for her family. I'll keep my remarks brief and will do my best to honor Sadie, but also to help bring comfort to her family at this time. First, I want to say I know that the Davises are very grateful for the outpouring of love and support that they've received over the last week. This has been fresh on all of our minds. This hurts. We will miss Sadie. Everyone here in this room, she's touched our lives in one way or another, and this hurts. Life moves on for us, but this is going to stay fresh for the Davis family. So I hope that each one of us will continue to remember them, to reach out, to check on them, to serve them, to provide them the support that they need over the coming weeks, months, years even. This will be tough for them. When I think of my interactions with Sadie personally, two words come to mind, and those have been shared already today by many of you, and those are light and love. Each time that I saw her, she would give me that big warm smile of hers. Even though she wouldn't want me to conduct her funeral, she and I still got along well. And one of my favorite memories of her, a couple of years ago, I stopped by the house and she was there, and she just sat down and played the piano, and I had no idea. And she played beautifully, and she put on a concert. And it was, again, one of my favorite memories of Sadie. Sadie was incredibly talented with her art and her music, and she brought a lot of light and love to those with whom she interacted. I also know that she was a fierce protector of those she loved and those who were less fortunate. And I think that's something we can learn from Sadie, and each one of us can take in our own lives and be that way as well. Give light and love to others and protect those who are less fortunate than each of us. Losing Sadie hurts. We grieve because we loved her. Our grief at her loss is equivalent to the love that we have for her. So give yourselves permission to mourn and to grieve, and think of the love that you have for her. To Sadie's dear friends and extended family, find ways to honor and remember her. Don't let that love and light that she shared with you dissipate. Rex, Vicky, Dallin, Camry, and KJ. If you want to feel close to Sadie, stay close to each other and do those things that you enjoyed doing together often. Remember Sadie, speak of her often, even when it's hard to do so. Rex and Vicky, hold close to the memories that you have of Sadie and hold close to your faith. Your love of the Savior and your trust in his promises will help you through the heartbreak that you're now feeling. While it won't take the pain away, you'll be able to bear it as you put your trust in him. Hold tightly to the memories of that day. In January of 2000, when you were sealed to state, go to the temple and listen to those blessings that are pronounced when children are sealed to parents. I testify that those blessings are in effect. I'd like to share a scripture that has brought comfort to me as loved ones have passed. Rex told me that Dallin shared this with the family the day that Sadie passed. This is from a father to a son who was struggling with his faith and with his understanding of what happens after each one of us passes from this life. It says, now concerning the state of the soul between death and the resurrection, behold, it has been made known to me by an angel that the spirits of all men, as soon as they are departed from this mortal body, yea, the spirits of all men, whether they be good or evil, are taken home to that God who gave them life. And then it shall come to pass that the spirits of those who are righteous are received in a state of happiness, which is called paradise, a state of rest, a state of peace, where they will rest from all their troubles and from all care and sorrow. I love that thought, that each one of us is taken home to that God who gave us life. I'm quite certain that Sadie is at peace. I'm certain that she was greeted by those who loved her, those who passed on before her. And I'm certain that she will continue to provide that light and love from the other side to each one of us. And I share this with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. We will close these services by singing hymn number 152, God Be With You Till We Meet Again, after which Sadie's uncle, Mark White, will offer the invocation or the benediction.
Our Father in heaven, thank you for Sadie. Thank you for the honor and privilege of knowing her during her time on this earth. Thank you for this opportunity that we've had to gather to remember her. At this time, Father, we pray that thy spirit of peace will be with each of us, with family and friends, through the coming years, through the coming weeks and months, that we may feel peace, that we may feel Sadie. And remember her and honor her. We pray for these blessings to be with each of us, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.